Going live, going live, going live, going live, going live, going live. Well, you're live. It says you're live. Congratulations. We are live, I think. Who knows?
Well, it's still not showing. Well, let's give it a bit. Maybe, maybe,
Because it
maybe I don't
officially
know.
says I'm live now.
Is there anybody
Anything?
out there? There we go. I see it
Popping
now.
up? You seeing it?
Yeah. Okay. So we are live. We're live as soon as you said, "Are we live?"
Are we live? Fantastic.
And
I
we do
love
look
the
live.
professionalism that we have here.
Well, nothing but professionalism.
We exude professionalism.
Yes. How many movies do you have on your list?
I just have a couple of movies on my list right now. I figured I'd kind of wing it a little bit. I didn't think about it too much. The one that I put on the thumbnail is definitely at the top of my list. Um, but before we go into the topic of today's episode, if you're watching, Andy and Mr. Montoya, can you please keep an eye on the comments for us
Yeah,
if there
I
are
am
comments?
in the comments now.
Okay, great, fantastic.
I'm sure we're gonna
Welcome.
get lots.
Lots of comments,
It's
lots
very
of
important what
people.
we're doing here.
It is. um, Welcome to Andy and Jeremiah. I'm Jeremiah. The man sitting at the bottom of the well with the light shining down upon him is Andy.
Hey, it looks good. You know,
It does look
you're
good.
just
It's very
jelly.
artistic. No, no, no.
You're
I
just
am
jelly. This is called.
honestly.
Wait, no, it's not
hon-
called Rembrandt lighting. It's a little bit too flooded.
Honestly, I am jealous. You look very dramatic in that lighting. It's impressive.
Thank you.
So, if you're joining us today, which I can't keep an eye on how many people we have watching the stream right now because I'm looking at a different studio that we're recording and capturing this on.
There we go. There's the
Um,
mood. Sorry. Go ahead. Yep.
um, we are recording this from our respective abodes, and
Food.
today's topic.
Wait.
Uh-huh. You're writing down your list. I love the airtime that we have here. Oh, you have a list. It's
Oh, it's
guilty pleasure movies. Yes, the movies that you know deep down are absolutely garbage, terrible films.
wrong. Wrong. And I'll tell you why. But go ahead.
You so you can't admit that a movie's bad, and
Oh no,
yet
I can. I can. But go ahead.
and yet that you enjoy watching it anyway.
I no, I can. Okay, so I have. Let me see.
You're clipping a little bit by
Sorry,
the way. You're
sorry.
getting excited. You're
I
getting
am
excited.
I'm fired up. I'm jacked. I'm jacked to the tits. Um, I have you seen The Big Short? It's fantastic. Anyways, I have one movie on here that I think is 100% legitimately guilty pleasure. I think the movie is garbage, but I love it.
Mhm.
There's one movie that I will 100% agree it's not very good.
But the other ones you think are good to some degree.
But the other ones I think have something special about them that kind of but other people think that they're purely guilty pleasure movies, but I think that there's something about them that they shouldn't be considered in that category.
I hear you. Okay, I get it. I can work with those parameters. I'll change my list up a little bit then. I'll add in some movies that I enjoy and that I think are actually good films in there too. Don't get a great rap, but hold up well. I think. Okay. All right. So before we get into that topic though, can we talk about the movie that you briefly mentioned for a second before we went live? The one that you said the title of and I immediately jumped out of my chair and said stop because this is perfect for discussing on the show.
Let me tell you the story about how this came up.
Okay.
So we were down in HR clearing out the area, and it come to find out that we are the ones that are going to be managing like all the keys to the building henceforth. The power. Um, so one of my coworkers said, "Oh, we're the key masters," and I said, "Oh, the key master. That was a that was a movie. That was a cartoon. Was it called the Key Master or the
Page
Book
Master.
Master?" And then he finally came up with it. He's like, oh, it's called the page. No, he didn't. We figured that out
Sorry,
later.
I'm ruining the
Yeah,
story.
you're
I'm
throwing
sorry.
me off. You're throwing me
Sorry,
off.
sorry. Go ahead. Keep
So
going.
my coworker is like, oh, I know which one you're talking about. It's the one with Macaulay Culkin in it. And I was like, yeah, that one. He's like, oh, Macaulay Culkin. And oh, and then he started talking about this movie where Macaulay Culkin is just a horrible little kid, and and I think it's just like comedy territory. And then he starts telling me more and more about the movie, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, well, how does it end? And then he tells me how it ends, and I'd stop what I'm doing, and yeah, I know it wasn't break time. I stop what I'm doing and I look up the ending to this movie and I was like, oh my gosh, that's horrifying, but so good. It's very interesting. And I'll tell you how I think that once we start getting more into the movie and say what the title is, I'll get into how I think the movie would end in this day and age.
Okay. So do you want to tell us the
The
title of the
name
movie?
of the movie is The Good Son.
The Good Son.
The
So I
Good
watched
Son.
this film. I watched this film. I think whenever I was, I want to say 11 or 10 or 11, something like that. And it was on HBO, something like that. It was on. I watched the entire thing fully unedited, and I remember being like blown away by how just like out there and insane it is, because if you're unfamiliar with the film, it's not a funny movie. It's not a fun movie.
No.
You do get some pretty good performances though from Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood in the
Yeah.
film.
Yeah. The Hobbit's in it. You know, like what, so you know how YouTube, it has like they have all these different clips of movies now, like oh, this scene from this movie. I get flooded with them sometimes. Well, I started seeing, after I saw that initial clip, I started seeing a bunch of the different clips pop up from the movie, and I was like, oh my gosh, this happens. Oh my gosh, this happens. This character dies. It's insane. I still haven't seen the movie, but I'm going to.
It's a very
It's
weird
dark.
experience. It's a weird experience going from seeing Macaulay Culkin in My Girl and then seeing him in The Good Son. Macaulay Culkin doesn't get enough credit for how versatile he was as a child actor, really, because he you want to throw that kid off of a cliff.
Wait, spoiler alert, retroactive spoiler alert. So the movie ends with Mila Jovovich, right?
Is that her? I don't think it's her. Is
That's
it?
her. Hold
Is
on,
it?
let's look this up. Let's look this up.
Are you talking about the mom?
Yeah,
Was she in that movie?
I'm willing to bet. I'm getting a ringing in my mic every time I place it down, so I'm going to try to not place it down.
Susan is Wendy Crewson. Mila Jovovich does not appear on the
Oh,
cast list.
well,
I
you know,
can tell you didn't. I can
all
tell
white
you didn't
people look
research.
alike. So,
Okay.
um,
Spoiler alert.
spoiler alert. So I thought it was Mila Jovovich, but it's not. It's Cindy Crewson. It looks like her though. However, so the movie ends with
Wendy Crewson.
yeah, okay. The movie ends with Macaulay Culkin like trying to like beat Elijah Wood to death on the side of a cliff, and he's saying like, I'm gonna kill you. I hate you." Like he keeps repeating this over and over again. It's like whenever Gollum and Elijah Wood did this scene late would do this go on to do the scene later on in his life. It's like whenever Gollum is trying to wrestle the ring out of Frodo, but in this movie Macaulay Culkin is just trying to kill Elijah Wood. Nothing special there. And
Not
so
trying to steal jewelry from him at all.
no, this has nothing to do
There's
with
very
the
little
pretty
motive
little
behind
the ring
behind
on
the
it.
action.
Anyways, they both go flying over the cliff, and then Wendy Crewson, she dives in after, grabs both of them. She's trying to make sure that neither of them fall, but Elijah Wood is slipping. And then Macaulay Culkin, he looks up, and I don't think he meant it. I haven't seen the movie, but I have a sneaking suspicion that he didn't actually mean it. He's just a horrible little turd that didn't want to die. And he looks up and he's like, "I love you, mommy." Trying to get her not to. But anyways, Cindy Crewson drops Macaulay Culkin onto the rocks below, and grabs Elijah Wood, make sure someone who's not her son doesn't die. I think in this day and age, that would not happen. That's not the ending. I think in this day and age, if they were to remake the movie, that she would totally let Elijah Wood fall to his doom.
Why?
Um. Well, partially because of this current obsession of subversiveness. It would just need to be different, just because. And the other part is I think it's a little bit more authentic. I think if you're a parent and your son's or your child's a horrible little turd, that still doesn't change how you feel. That still doesn't change your love for someone. So that's why I think those two things combined would make the ending be different.
Because Elijah Wood's character is, I think his mom dies, and so he's sent to go live with his aunt and uncle, and so Macaulay Culkin.
Does Macaulay Culkin kill his mom?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, spoiler alert.
But
apple juice.
I think I actually agree with that logic behind it. Especially if we look at a film like We Need to Talk About Kevin. Have you seen that?
I really like that movie just because of, I think the last line in the movie really puts a bow on the messaging.
Right. It's a really hard film to watch. But it's entirely there. The spoiler, we're in spoiler territory for the entire episode. We're talking about films that are at least 10 years old now at this point. We need to talk about Kevin. This woman raises her son, and throughout his entire life, he developmental issues, and he's definitely antisocial. And he ends up eventually murdering several people in his school with a bow and arrow or a crossbow. I can't remember which.
Bow and arrow.
I think it's bow and arrow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And before he does that, he actually murders his dad and his little sister, who is just like a 5-year-old or something at the time. That was such a hard scene to look out onto the lawn and see their dead bodies there.
Mm-hmm.
But the film's message is, despite all of this, despite everything that he's done, despite how horrible he is, the mother still loves her son, still goes to visit him, still talks to him, still holds out this dedication to her child. So I get it.
That's part of the message. I had a slightly more expansive takeaway.
To be fair, it's been years since I've seen it, so go.
I think it has a. So I think that's part of it. The part of it is, especially with the last line, is the payoff, and there's this final time that she goes and talks to her son, and she like you said, she's kind of holding out hope that he can grow out of this mentality that he's been in since he was born, pretty much. And there's this final part in the film where he finally opens up to his mom a little bit, and he's like, I was so sure about the things that I was doing, and now I'm not. That's not verbatim, but I appreciated it that it what?
Can you hear that or no?
Hear what?
You couldn't hear any of that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, continue.
What are you doing, perv?
Continue. Say something else. Say something else. Say something else serious.
Anyways, I really like the ending because it puts a bow on kind of the idea of outgrowing cynicism and nihilism, which I really appreciated about the film. It had because. Is this you paying me back because you didn't get to fully explain Batman or Justice League?
Apparently, no. It's just a beta feature that I literally just clicked and realized that I have now. I've got a soundboard. Hey, hang on a second. Hang on a second. You ready? I have a soundboard.
Oh man, that's not as funny as if you kind of figured that out beforehand.
True. The beeps were on point.
Oh, look, your mom. Your mom.
Oh, I was
Today,
supposed to tell
people would
you
be
not to
more
do that.
likely to support the criminal intent of their blood offspring. Um, yeah, I think so. I think so. I think that's one of the reasons why an ending in like we need to talk about Kevin would be probably how the good son would happen if it was remade today.
Yeah. Fair point. I would agree with you 100%. Um, Elijah Wood be on the rocks. Also,
Like
there's
avocado on
there's a
toast.
there's a there's a drink there somewhere. Hobbit on the rocks.
Who would play Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood?
I don't know. It would have to.
Should we gender swap? Does this movie work gender swapped?
I think it'd be a little bit more brutal if it was
Yeah.
whoever that little girl was from Bird Box.
She was the best part of that movie. I'm gonna be
Mhm.
real. I hated Bird Box,
So
but
did I.
I
It
did
killed
enjoy Girl.
Untitled with Andy and Jeremiah.
Yeah, Bird Box destroyed this channel. That's one of the many reasons I hated that movie. Netflix was smart. You know what Netflix did? They
Mm.
waited until uh what was it? Thanksgiving break? They waited for Thanksgiving break when nobody had anything better to do. It was actually a pretty quiet news week too. No one had anything better to do except stay home and watch Bird Box. And they're like, "Yeah, we've already had like 15 million kajillion views. Our
Yeah, of
movie is
course.
our movie's pretty sweet." And no, the movie's trash. Movie sucks. I saw the renderings of the because they wanted to put like the monster in a dream sequence or something like that. I saw the renderings. It was like this baby face monster kind of thing. I actually thought it was really effective. I think they should have left it in the movie.
You think they should have left the monster in the
Yeah,
film?
the monster that they had conceptually created, what they wanted to show. I think they should have put it in there because
Why don't they hire us to make films?
I don't know, but there's a difference
Or
between not showing like the way M Night Shyamalan does it in
Signs?
Signs. There's a difference between that and kind of just copping out and being like, I don't know what they're seeing, but it's horrible enough to make them want to kill themselves, and just leave it at that. That's lack of creativity and conviction. Don't at me.
Or do, by all means, we want some more
Yeah, yeah.
engagement in the comment section.
Anybody else? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Someone other than one of our mothers. Yeah, at least your mom's watching.
Yeah. I was supposed to tell you not to do that. I forgot. My bad.
What?
Call
Want
her
to do
out.
what?
Anyway. Anyways. So yeah, I know. Yeah, I didn't like it's trying to create this mythology around these characters without actually putting any of the effort or the work into it. That's one thing that I love about Blair Witch
Wait, what are
Project.
we talking about now?
We're still talking about Bird Box. We're still
Bird
talking about
Box.
Bird Box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that I love about Blair Witch Project is that they give you the lore. That whole first like half hour of that film is spent learning about the myth behind the Blair Witch and getting the interviews from these townsfolk that feel very real. And you later find out if you're as big of a geek about the movie as I am that they just told the actors, the three actors, they just told them, go to this town, go interview some people and ask questions about it. They didn't tell them who to interview. They just kind of guided people into it, and they stuck some actors in there to kind of mess with them. So some of them were actors, some of them were real people, and
How does that
there
show up
were
in the credits?
I don't know. I'm from what I can remember, I don't think the film has credits to kind of build the illusion of
Ooh,
that
it
it's found
maintains
footage.
the illusion.
But they, but between all of that, between at the time the unprecedented market that we watched Blair Witch Project. I think it was your first time that you watched it was
Mm-hmm.
in the like the late 2000s. So you didn't get really wrapped up in it at the time. But back then, they utilized the internet. They created a website with like the lore behind the Blair Witch, the lore behind these missing college students. They
Yeah.
created a sci-fi documentary. So it was like all this effort had
Have you
been
seen
put
the
into it.
documentary?
Yeah, I have. I've watched
Is
it
it
a
any
couple of
good?
times. I like it. Yeah. Um, there's another one that they created like afterwards, and I want to find that, but I can't find it anywhere. Um, but they put all this effort into building up the myth of the Blair Witch so that when you don't actually see her throughout the film, your mind is playing enough tricks on your imagination's actually able to run a little wild and create something that's scarier than whatever they could show you on film. I agree with you. Bird Box is a cheap way around it. They can't show you anything that will actually make you go mad because anything that you see is technically not going to make you go crazy and kill yourself. Um, it would have had to. I don't know. They needed to put more effort into it. I felt like it was very poorly done, and I'm
Major
bummed
cop
out.
out.
I'm bummed out that Sandra Bullock has partnered with Netflix again to do a comic that I love very much, but she's adapting it, so I don't know how well it's gonna go.
You know, oh,
Anyways,
before we move on to what that title might be, I want to say something else about the ending of about Bird Box and its ending and why I think that it's inferior to the novel. Although I haven't read the novel, obviously I understand about how the novel ends. In the novel, no, okay, let's start with the movie. In the movie, she goes to this place that's already made for blind people. That doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. Uh, it really doesn't have any messaging. I don't understand. And if it does, I don't understand what the messaging is. There's just these random blind people in the middle of a forest that happen to live because they're blind. Um, okay, it doesn't mean anything. I don't. To me, it doesn't mean anything. However, in the book, she makes her way to this camp where everybody has voluntarily blinded themselves. I appreciate that ending so much because it's more of a statement on the resilience of humanity.
what they're willing to
Okay,
do to
yeah,
survive.
yeah, but not even just that because they're also a community. So it's like, you know what, you're gonna throw this at us, whatever. We're gonna throw you the middle finger and we're gonna blind ourselves and we're gonna go
Like
about our
literally
business and we're gonna
blinding
figure it
themselves with
out.
their poke his
So
eyes
I
out.
like that. I like the ending of the book so much more because of that. I think it actually means something.
I get that. That's on that I can appreciate that. Um yeah. I don't know, dude. I remember hearing a lot of hype about Bird Box. People were actually wasn't Machine Gun Kelly in it too? Like they were making a big deal about that
Machine
as
Gun
well.
Kelly was in it. I don't
Um
really follow him though, so it didn't mean anything to me.
yeah, there were a lot of people. It was pretty big on social media. It
It
wasn't just
was.
Netflix. It wasn't just Netflix saying it, but it was one of those films where I was like, am I like the only I'm watching the same movie that everybody else is, right? Like I'm not just I'm
I felt the
I
exact
feel
same
like
way.
it's a perfect transition actually for the topic of tonight's
It
episode.
is. Let's get
Let's
into
go
it.
ahead and roll into it because there are movies that I watch that people go on and on about how wonderful they are, and I'm just thinking, what the
I
hell are
don't
you
get it. We're
watching?
not watching the same film.
Do you remember when Jurassic World hit and people were drowning in nostalgia, talking about how amazing it was?
No, yeah, I do remember that. I didn't get it either. I wasn't in love with the movie. I thought it was quite mediocre, and there was especially that one scene that just seemed so mean spirited.
This entire oh, you're talking about the one where the woman who's been like who tried her best to keep her eyes on the kids
Yeah, the
and
woman who's
guide
doing
them
what she's supposed to be doing despite this horrible ant. I mean, come on. And it's
and
not even
gets
like
completely torn apart.
let's see a different. It's not like that. The scene in part two, whenever that guy is trying his friggin' hardest to keep them from falling over a cliff. It's completely different.
He made the choice to be heroic and he
Yeah,
paid the price for it. He saved
yeah,
his
but
friends
he
though.
was
His
a
death had
friggin'
meaning.
hero,
Yeah.
and that's one of my favorite characters in the whole Jurassic Park verse. The
That's the
Jurassic verse,
we need to come up with a better title for that.
the Parkerverse,
We'll
monster,
keep
the
we'll whiteboard
Soraverse.
it. We'll
We'll
whiteboard
whiteboard it. We'll whiteboard it. Okay, so how many movies do you have listed? I have six.
You have six. Well, we need to get started then. I'll let you go ahead and get started. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, do you want me to start off with the one that I think is 100% full on a guilty pleasure movie?
Sure.
Okay. So, it's number 4 on my list because I thought of these are in no particular order. However, we'll start with that one. I love white chicks. It is a horrible movie. It's bottom of the barrel filmmaking, but I freaking love it.
It's funny.
I think it's
It's a funny
so
movie.
funny. I love Terry Crews. I just think it's so funny. I think it's hilarious. There's
I
really not much
remember
more I have to say about it.
I watched White Chicks, I think. I watched White Chicks probably several years after it had already come out. But I enjoyed it. I thought that it was funny. I thought Terry Crews actually pretty well in it. I thought it was a unique enough story. Um, I don't remember much of it though. I will say that. I don't remember the plot. I remember scenes and I remember little funny tidbits here or
I
there.
watch it
Like,
at least like once every other year. I think my favorite line is, "I can't believe you're not white."
right, the deception. Yeah.
The deception. Nailed. I friggin' love that movie. All right, what
Um,
was one of your? Or go ahead.
What's
What
one of
else you got to
mine?
say about
Okay,
it?
well,
What's one of yours?
the thumbnail that we have for this episode is Batman and Robin. So
What killed dinosaurs?
generally regarded worst Batman film, probably the worst superhero film period, with the exception to maybe Howard the Duck. Even comic book movie, we'll branch out a little bit
The
there.
worst superhero film. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna add another one.
Generally regarded as the worst comic book adaptation. Batman and Robin gets a lot of heat, gets a lot of flack, and it is 100% deserved. It is structurally a terrible film. We have a plot that just doesn't make sense. We have two villains that team up that have very conflicting goals. Like one person wants to bring about the ice age, one person wants to bring around let mother nature and plants, plants don't survive in the freezing
They
cold.
don't. They don't.
They don't do too well.
I learned that from the movie Ice Age. It must be the last dandelion of the season. They don't survive.
They don't survive. We have George Clooney, who definitely looks like he's just being George Clooney in the movie, which to be fair, George Clooney could probably pull off, George Clooney probably lives a Bruce Wayne-ish lifestyle minus the Batmaning. Um, and we have, I don't know, we have this weird plot where they turned Batgirl into Alfred's niece. The age difference there is kind of like how much older, like it doesn't add up.
It's
You would
really
think
weird. It's kind of
it is weird.
disturbing, actually.
You would think also that Alfred was just like a like a much older sibling to Alicia Silverstone's parents, but no, he actually showed or mom. They show a picture of her, and it's a picture of her young in like the 1940s. So I have no idea how old
Yeah, it's weird.
how old Alicia Silverstone's mom was in this story. Anyway, the things that I love about it, number one on that list is going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I cannot find another movie in history where there's an actor that looks like he's having more fun doing what he's doing. And he's doing it in a big suit. He's doing it with makeup all over his face. He's doing it wearing a bald cap and everything.
I think the only one that comes close is Willem Dafoe in Spider-Man.
I could see that. He's hamming it up in that movie too. Uh, Arnold just, his jokes are so dumb and so like dad joke level. It's just, you can't help, at least in my opinion, I can't help but giggle at least a little bit at some of those jokes. Like, yeah, one of those, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. That was a great impression.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's a bit of a delay. I need to learn how to plan them out better.
Yeah.
But and the other one, whenever he just drops into the party and he's like, "Okay, chill," and starts shooting them, and I'm just dying laughing. Right?
What genuine laugh, and I think I still laugh like every time, is whenever they go into his cave and he's like trying to get them to sing Mr.
Mr. White Christmas.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I
And
love that scene.
He's wearing his
Come on,
little
sing.
He's wearing his polar bear slippers.
You know what? Let me see here. This is not the only time that an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie is going to be on this list.
Well, I'm kind of curious because I got another one on there too.
Maybe it's the same one. All right. Let me do my next one.
Hit the next one.
You know what? Arnold Schwarzenegger is at least on this list 3 times. So now, moving on to that. Having said that, Last Action Hero.
Is that considered a bad movie?
I think it is, but I love that movie, and it should not be. I rewatched it a couple of months ago, and it has some incredible themes in it. And it has Charles Dance is one of the best villains like ever in that movie. I forget his name. What's his name? You looking it up?
Uh, yeah, hang on. I thought I remembered it off the top of my head. Quinn or something like that? No, I don't know.
Quinn.
Uh,
No, it's not Quinn.
Benedict. His name is Benedict.
Benedict. Benedict
Oh,
is one of the greatest villains in cinema history of all time.
so we should say what the Rotten Tomato scores are of each of these films. So
You know
Last
what? You're
Action
right.
Hero, score of 40%, audience score of 47%. So you're right. It's not very high up
Wait,
there. It's not.
I'll do IMDb. You do Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
So,
Uh, I I love it for
White
multiple
Chicks.
reasons.
Hold on, White
What's
Chick.
White Chicks?
White Chicks is 5.6 on IMDb, and
White
Last Action
Chicks.
Hero.
Wow. So Rotten Tomatoes has White Chicks has a critical score of 15% on Rotten Tomatoes and 55%
That's
uh,
messed up.
audience.
And
That
Last Action Hero on IMDb is 6.4.
cool.
What's it on
I'd see
Rotten
that's a
Tomatoes?
little bit above average. I don't think that that's too bad of a score. Nothing to sneeze at.
Well,
Batman and Robin's Rotten Tomato score
oh
has a
yeah.
tomato meter of 12% for critical and 16% audience. That is currently our lowest film. Last Action Hero though has a lot to love about it. It's okay. Arnold Schwarzenegger does comedy well. He's kind of like. Do you like Channing Tatum in
Ooh,
comedy?
3.8. Uh, so I watched, what was that movie he's in?
21 Jump
Street,
Street, 22
21
Jump
Drum
Street.
Street. Yeah, I was the first film I saw Channing Tatum in was Fighting, and I thought he was just drab and droll, and it was a very boring movie. I think largely to do with his performance. Secondarily, the writing, I didn't enjoy it. So I wasn't like a Channing Tatum fan. And then I saw 21 Jump Street like 5 years after it came out, and I was like, okay, I get the appeal now.
So
He's hilarious.
these are big, muscly dudes who started out in action roles, but they transition really well into. They've got great comedic timing. Arnold Schwarzenegger kills it whenever he has his one-liners in this
Hmm.
film. The plot is great too. Just the whole idea. As a kid, as a boy in the '90s, the idea of having a magic ticket that could send you into any movie like that you wanted to go to, that was huge. It I had never seen anything like that at that point.
Well, and not just that, but how they worked it in with his character because of the films he watching, the films he watches basically replacing his father figure,
Yeah,
and so it was, and then meeting his ultimate father figure. It's a fantastic movie.
it's really good. And plus, we have F. Murray Abraham in it, and the first thing that the boy says to him is, "You killed Mozart." Like that type of fourth wall breaking is just it's perfect.
Yeah, it is. And well, then even towards the end, like whenever he comes into like some of the lines from Arnold Schwarzenegger towards the end of the movie after he makes it to the real world, and uh, the speech he gives Danny saying, life is what you make it, because Danny's complaining about how horrible reality is. It's man, there's some great themes in that movie. Wait, what was it on Rotten Tomatoes?
Last Action Hero, it was in the '40s from critics and
See, that ain't right. I think that movie needs to be given a second chance because I think it is fantastic.
you heard it here, folks.
You heard it here. Last
Go
action,
watch it.
just in. Last action hero, fantastic.
All right, I got one.
All right, lay it on me.
I'm pulling up the Rotten Tomato score right now, though.
I'll type it in IMDb as soon as you lay it on me.
All right, Mystery Men.
That's on my list.
Is it? Sorry, we're jumping ahead then. Mystery
No, no.
Men. I so let's go over the plot. We should have structured this a little bit better. Mystery Men is a movie that was made in the 1990s, starring Ben Stiller, William H Macy, Hank Azaria, Janine Garofalo, Eddie Izzard, a ton of people, a ton
Oh
of
yeah, he is in it.
a ton of great actors in this film. It is a spoof on the superhero genre in general.
Before
Greg Kinnear.
superhero
Greg Kinnear.
spoofs were a thing.
Yeah, before superhero spoofs were a thing, and maybe honestly before it was really even like, I think it might have been just ahead of its time.
I
If
think
that movie
I
were, if that,
texted you last year. I watched it because it was on Hulu, and I texted you last year. I was like, Mystery Men was ahead of its time.
oh, there we
It's
go, perfect.
it's genius.
It breaks down the whole. I wouldn't say it's just a spoof on superhero films. It's a spoof on superheroes. Period.
Yeah.
You have everything from Clark Kent's glasses being mocked. The fact that villains constantly get released. Like, why are our villains constantly get released? Does it have anything to do with the fact that without the villains, the superheroes have nothing to do? You know it. It has just some great moments. Paul Rubens is in it. Kel Mitchell. There's just
Yeah.
it's a stacked cast.
Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey. How did I even forget to mention Jeffrey?
I don't know
Rush?
how you forgot Jeffrey Rush.
Casanova Frankenstein. If you haven't watched,
Captain Amazing.
if you haven't, we've always been each other's greatest nemesis.
Nemesis.
What's the plural?
It's actually quite cool. Oh, really?
Okay, so the tomato meter for Mystery Men, critically it's 61%. I don't remember it being, that has to include post 90s editions in there.
Oh, I
because
think
the
when it
film-
first came out, it was lambasted.
Yeah, people bombed the hell out of it at the time.
Yeah.
Audience score sits at 57%, which is low. This film should be considered much higher. Like, you need to go back and watch this movie.
think
If you
so.
watched it and hated it.
IMDb at 6.1. I think it should be at least at 7.1. At least.
I would agree. It's a fun movie to watch. It's entertaining. It has a lot of heart to it. It's got the trappings of a 90s film where a lot of it is cliched as well, but it kind of works.
But it's supposed to be. It
Tom
absolutely
Waits.
works for what it's supposed to be.
Tom
What?
Waits is in it.
Who does Tom Waits play?
Tom Waits, he's the inventor. He's the guy who makes non-lethal weapons.
Oh yeah. You know what did I just watch with him in it?
Seven Psychopaths.
No.
you
No,
seen
it's
that?
it was on Netflix. Oh, Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Tom Waits is in that.
He
I
is
really
in it,
liked
yes.
his short. The short that he's in. Any final thoughts on Mystery Men?
My
other
final
than-
thoughts on Mystery Men is that
Absolutely
everybody
watch
needs
it.
to watch it. Everybody. I went to go see Spamalot on Broadway, and Hank Azaria was in it. And in the art, in like his little bio in the playbill, he actually apologizes for Mystery Men in it, and I don't get that. I was like,
No way.
you.
Oh, I know.
No.
Yeah, he's probably apologizing for the accent.
No, he was apologizing for it being a bad movie.
Is that what it said?
Yeah, he's apologizing for it being a bad movie. I went to
Well,
go see this. This
I
was
don't
before-
appreciate. He's not
this was
apologizing for cultural appropriation.
Not back then.
How long ago was it?
This was back whenever I was 16 or 17.
Oh, okay, yeah, not back then. Okay, see, then this has got to be an uptick in because this movie I think was sitting probably closer to like 5.1 or 5.0 in previous years. I think people are rediscovering this movie and
I think it's
realizing
gonna be a
what
cult classic.
what a ahead of its time hidden gem it is. It should
Right.
be a cult classic.
Insert funny scene with Paul Rubens farting on an entire diner full of people.
I forever be the one who dealt it. There's so many great lines in that movie too. And Eddie Izzard's obsession with disco. Disco is not dead. Disco is alive. Quotable. I think what you'll find is that these movies that actually are great guilty pleasure movies are very quotable.
Yes, very true. All right, sir, move on to your next one.
Okay, my next one. We're gonna stick. I'm gonna stick with. Actually, no. I'm gonna do. Should I do Schwarzenegger or superheroes?
Do superhero.
Okay, The Punisher, the first movie with Thomas Jane. I
Tom
really
Jane
liked it.
Punisher.
Yeah, that's a guilty pleasure of mine. I really like the movie. I really like Thomas Jane as the Punisher.
Take us through the plot, sir.
Okay, so Thomas Jane is a man ultimately wronged after his entire family is killed after he inadvertently gets a mob boss's son killed in a sting. and then he disappears for a little bit, comes back, has a freaking awesome car, has a crap ton of guns, and goes ham on the people who killed his. And when I say his entire family, I mean like they were at a family reunion, entire family. It was a bloodbath, and then he just goes ham, exacting his revenge. It's a great movie. I really liked it. It's a really good revenge movie.
It is a comic book adaptation of the Punisher character. What's his name? Frank Castle.
Frank Castle. Yes.
Uh,
What you had to think about that? 2004. Man, it's a long time ago.
yes, it took me a minute. I think I saw it whenever it aired. I didn't have anything against it. I thought it was okay. Um, there was nothing that stood out regarding it for
What?
me.
The scene,
No,
the Harry Heck scene stood out. I love the Harry Heck diner scene. This
you got
rando
it.
just goes into a diner, pulls out his guitar, and sings to his mark. I loved it.
Nah, man. I honestly I can't speak too much on. I'm gonna leave that up to the one thing that I can say is that it has a 28% critical score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 63% audience score. So most audiences are in your agreement here that
It's got a 6.4 on IMDb. I think that's gone up a little bit too. Because I remember a lot of hate. Okay, yeah, it's up in popularity, 1,792% up in popularity. I don't know where
that's
that's coming from.
a big number.
That is a big number. I think that people are now again rediscovering. I think part of these rediscovering, maybe as far as superhero films, is people are kind of fatigued on the cookie cutter cut and paste stuff that we've been getting for the past 10 years.
And we really have been. I mean, Marvel's done a great thing with their films that they've created. However, it has also created a byproduct of this has been that every studio wants to create a shared universe, or if everybody's thinking in terms of franchises now. There's no
Hmm.
such thing as let's just make a really good movie and leave it at that. We have to count on smaller independent filmmakers to provide stuff like that. I mean,
But
hell,
thank
even
goodness we have streaming services because we can still get that content if we want it
right.
through
I mean,
streaming
even
services.
Cruella, which seems like a one-off, is getting a sequel now. Even
Even
Joker is
Joker
getting a
might
sequel.
be getting a sequel, which is I don't know how to feel about that actually. I think
I'm
I'm happy either
wondering.
way.
I'm wondering which Martin Scorsese movie the Joker sequel is going to
I
be.
will be so happy if he just keeps on mashing a bunch of different Scorsese movies together.
Yeah, it'd be funny. Like honestly, you know what it would be? It would be like a middle finger to the critics of the first Joker that say that it was just a Scorsese that it was just
But
a
in a
remake
good
of a
way.
Scorsese.
Because
Yeah, I'd be
I
like,
think, yeah, it was kind of like King of Comedy and Taxi Driver just kind of mashed together, but it worked. Let's not pretend like that is originality. Taking two things and mashing them together. I mean, it's really hard. Innovative genius. Michelangelo, no, Leonardo da Vinci was an innovative genius. He did things that nobody else did. He was an original. The ideas he produced were original. And I think to put everybody on the level of trying to say you have to be Da Vinci or you're just, you're just a copycat. Well, then that's everybody else. So I do believe in the mantra good artists create, great artists steal.
cool.
But I digress. What's your next movie?
I think it's kind of funny how all of these film, or not all, but so many of these films are in some way connected to Schwarzenegger. Because I have another one on my list that has Schwarzenegger at least partially in it. Terminator Salvation, 2009. Yeah, I see the face that you're
No.
making. Yeah, I see the face. It's the same face that I made that you made
No.
whenever you said Punisher. Terminator Salvation, 2009. So this film, if you're unfamiliar with the Punisher universe, here, hang on. Terminator Salvation. Um,
Don't you have like a wah wah wah?
I don't know. Wait. Terminator Salvation. I know. I'm not the only one. I'm not. I can't be. I can't be. There has to be somebody who enjoys this film too.
There's not.
Here's what I will say. Okay, that's enough. It's still I switched it. You can toggle between preview and live, and it was still going on for like another 30 seconds. Um, Terminator Salvation. Before I get further into it, the Rotten Tomatoes score is 33%. The audience score is 54. So it hovers
Wait,
in
wait,
the
wait. And
middle.
IMDb 6.5. Popularity down 2,000%.
Okay, so Terminator Salvation changes the
Really?
storyline up.
Lettuce.
It's the one Terminator film that we get that actually shows us the future, that takes us beyond this the modern day
I'm going to make
setting.
notes. I've got some things to say about this.
Okay, takes us beyond the modern day setting of whatever time period the film was actually recorded. In the first Terminator, it was the 80s. In Terminator 2, it was the 90s. In Terminator 3, it was the 2000s. Blah 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 blah. Granted, I will tell you, Terminator 2 is one of my favorite movies, like period, of all time. Terminator 2 is up there as like one of my top 5 films. However, Terminator Salvation, I know is not I'm not going to make the argument that it's a great film. What I enjoy about it, it comes solely as a fan of the franchise, of the Terminator franchise.
Okay,
I
okay, hold
love.
on, hold on. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Are you a fan of any of the films after Terminator Salvation?
No.
Okay, I can accept that.
And I'm also not a fan of Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines.
See,
I
I
kind of
like Rise of the Machines more than Salvation.
really.
I did.
To be fair, Terminator Rise of the Machines tries to be is campier at times, so
I think
it
it's
offers
just
that
as bad
enjoyment.
as of a movie, but I enjoyed it more.
It's campy. It has more funny moments. Terminator Salvation is very serious. What I like about it as a fan of the franchise is actually seeing the future, seeing this world being run by the machines, seeing an adult John Connor leading the resistance or trying to lead the resistance, building up to leading the resistance, rather. Which, I mean, that makes sense. Some random dude off the street isn't just going to all of a sudden become the leader of humanity. He's going to end up having to work his way up. What I don't like about it is Sam Worthington. I don't like,
I'm the only hope you have.
yeah. Um, the I liked Anton Yelnats as Kyle Reese. I miss Anton Yelnats almost every
He
day,
was a highlight
honestly.
for me, and he was taken from us way too soon. I'm very upset. Every time I watch Odd Thomas, I actually cry at the end of the movie because he's no longer with us. Very disappointing.
He's a very good actor.
He had a lot of great movies left in him. Very disappointing.
Um, and as a side note, funny story. My my grandfather and I went to go see Terminator Salvation, and we saw a bunch of movies together. We went to see Terminator Salvation, and he walked up to go to the restroom for a minute, came back, and he was looking like he wasn't feeling great, but he didn't want to leave. Like he wanted to finish the movie. So we finished the movie. We go home. He drops me off and everything, and then like an hour later, he's like, "Hey, I need you to come get me. I need to go to the hospital."
Oh,
And turns out the man had a heart attack while he was watching Terminator Salvation, and decided he wanted to finish the movie. I don't know, um, but yeah, it was a lot of at the time I enjoyed it a lot, and it's one that I always kind of like. Um, just at least for the concept of it alone, it's one that uh, sticks with me.
so the main thing. Okay, so there's two things that I don't like about it. One is design and conceptual. So yes, I did. I was so pumped for the movie when I saw the trailer. I was so excited. I
With the
had
Nine
my.
Inch Nails song in it and everything. God, it's good.
I was so pumped. I was like, this. There's no way this movie could be bad. Um, and I'm not saying it can't be enjoyable, but I was like, there's no way this movie can be bad. And then I watched it. This wasn't like a Last Jedi experience for me where I really enjoyed the theater experience. And then as I ruminated on the film, I learned how much I actually hated it instead. This was like, I'm not having fun in the theater kind of experience. So I think the part that stands out to me, well, I'll start with the acting portion, which isn't Sam Worthington's fault, but it does have to do with Sam Worthington. It's whenever he pops up out of the water with that robot snake thing. like
Yeah.
out of nowhere. It's the most dramatic, overacting. Like I don't understand why they're choosing this moment to be so dramatic kind of moment. Um, the overact. Sam Worthington does a lot of over. Everybody does a lot of overacting in that movie. So does Christian Bale. Christian Bale does a ton of overacting, and it's annoying. And then, as far as yes, it is set in the future, but the future in T2 and in T1 was vibrant. There was purple lasers everywhere. It was colorful. It was blue. It was neon. It was like 80s future, 80s retro future, and it was awesome. The future in this movie is just dull and ugly and graded horribly. I didn't like
So
it.
you would you would want to see this kind of neon-esque
Yes,
future.
100%.
Makes sense.
I think that's fun. I think it's prettier to look at for sure. Instead of looking at a bunch of various browns and grays all over, like it's way more visual stimulating to see the retro synth feel of the first two movies. And that's all I have to say about that.
All right, your next film.
My next film, Tremors. Now I don't know if this is considered a bad movie, but I mainly put it on here because I don't think I ever hear anybody talking about this film. There's
We have to.
another one I rewatched I think last year, and it's so good. And well, okay, I guess guilty pleasure, the Tremors franchise. I like the Tremors franchise. They all get considerably worse after the first one.
Like the whole franchise.
The whole franchise. Let's say the whole franchise. That
Okay, because
would be
Tremors 1
a
has an
guilty pleasure.
86% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Good. I'd say it deserves it. But let's say the franchise. Because the first movie is really good, but the Tremors franchise as a whole, I'm a big fan. I love it. I think it's fun. I think it's creative. I think Burt Gummer is an unsung hero of a generation,
Preach.
an unsung hero of baby boomers.
Is that is that what's his face's character, Kevin Bacon?
Yeah, no,
No.
not Kevin Bacon. No, Burt
Oh, Michael
Gummer is
Gross.
Michael Gross. Yeah, yeah. He's in all
Gross.
of them. He's in all the movies. The franchise really became about him. And I think it's great that it did.
Gross. He looks familiar. What have I seen him in?
Tremors.
Oh, he's dad from Family Ties.
I actually never watched. I know Michael Gross from Tremors. That's about it, I think. But he
He's
does have
also
one of those faces where you think you've seen him in everything else.
he's also in How I Met Your Mother and AP Bio.
He is. Oh, pour one out for AP Bio.
It's got one more season.
Does it really?
Yeah,
I thought it got
renewed
canceled.
It did get canceled, but they renewed it on Peacock, and season 3 actually released
Are you
a few months ago.
serious?
Yeah, it's really good. You should watch
Dude,
it.
you just made my evening. I'm so excited. I love
AP
that
Bio is a
show.
great show. It's a great show. It's gonna
I,
run into some problems though with the kids aging for sure.
yeah, that's true. I'm
Um,
a huge fan of Glenn Howerton. I think he's actually really good. His
I think
his droll sarcasm never gets old to me.
it's it's pretty cool how all the guys from Sunny have done pretty well outside of Sunny. You know,
What else has Glenn
Charlie.
Howerton done?
Uh, well, just AP Bio, but he's done good. I will say he's done at least one good thing. Then, Charlie Day is probably
He's
the most
killing it on the
successful.
big screen.
Charlie Day's been in several movies. I haven't seen anything with him recently in it, but uh, he's been in action movies. Pacific Rim. He was in comedies. He did that film with what was it with Ice Cube? I think he
Yeah,
was in that
yeah.
movie with
I
Ice
think
Cube. It was actually
School
pretty
Fight
funny.
or something like that. I thought it was
Yeah,
funny. I enjoyed it.
yeah.
And then he was in was he in Horrible Bosses?
Yes, Horrible Bosses
Yeah,
one
he was
and
in
two.
Horrible Bosses. Um, did you
Mm,
ever watch The Mick?
No, I never watched the Mick. Was
I
it
did
good?
not watch The Mick. No.
It got canceled
It
too, didn't it?
it got canceled pretty quickly. It didn't look interesting to me. Those kinds of movies don't those kinds of plot lines don't interest me, I guess.
I'm not sure what it was about, even to be honest.
Um, there was another movie. It was a who's that guy that was in The Dark Knight Rises? Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Hesher. There's another movie I think that had called Hesher that had a somewhat similar plot line, at least in terms of the summary that's on IMDb, and it's just not very interesting to me. But anyways, Tremors. That's the last one we're on, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what's your next one? Lay it on me.
My next one. I got to make sure it's the right one. Hang on, because there's so many of them, and I get the titles. I get the titles wrong.
I'm intrigued.
Did you give us what the IMDb was for Tremors?
Oh, 7.1, and that's actually down a little bit. The original Tremors. I'm glad. I'm glad that people appreciate this movie because it really is just a genuinely good movie. Okay, so Tremors 2, 6.0, Tremors 3, 5.3, Tremors 4, 5.3.
All goes down from here.
Tremors 5, 5.3. It's actually been Tremors 6, 5.5.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Things are looking up.
That's a step in the right
coming
direction.
up, Millhouse. I want to go back and add something to my comments about Terminator Salvation before I go into my next film.
Lay it on me.
I do not think that I would have enjoyed the film much at all if I was not a fan of the franchise beforehand. I'll say that.
That makes sense.
I admit that this is honestly, it was more of just like a childhood I wanted to see the future movie. I've been wanting to see the future movie, so it's probably my own nostalgia getting to me in my enjoyment of that film. Anyway, moving on to the Purge Anarchy. Is my
I want my candy cane or my candy bar.
That's the Purge election year.
Oh wait, which one's Anarchy?
Anarchy is yes.
Oh, I think that's the best one.
The Purge Anarchy.
It's the most fun one.
So if you're unfamiliar with the Purge franchise, the idea is that one night a year, as a way to lower crime in the country, they make it so that one night a year all crime is legal, and they actually mean all crime. You want to go kill somebody, you go right ahead and kill somebody. You want to kill 10
bananas,
people,
go bananas.
Have fun with it. It's
get creative.
It's Christmas.
It's Purge.
And it's the whole concept of it is actually pretty terrifying. If you were to ever actually sit and think about it, how would you handle this? Are you gonna because I thought about it after watching it. I was like, am I gonna go and book a ticket for my family, book a plane ticket out of the country for the night, or are we gonna work on fortifying the house? Blah 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 blah. Whatever. So the
stand and deliver.
The first film brings us this concept, but it doesn't really deliver on it. The first film tells us one night a year crime is legal, but it keeps us in the home. It's a home invasion movie. It's pretty much like any other home invasion movie we've seen. If you've seen The Strangers, if you've seen, what's that, Funny Games? What? Basically, we have killers trying to get into the home and torture people, right?
I haven't seen Funny Games, but I also don't plan on watching Funny Games. That doesn't sound like a good time to me, to be honest.
No, absolutely not. The Purge Anarchy opens it up, shows us this world, and shows us what the United States would actually look like under this one night a year when things are happening. We get an ensemble of people to follow. We learn more about the hierarchy and the structures of society and how the wealthier people are able to benefit from something like this, whereas poor people are more at target in a situation like this. We have a solid action hero in Frank Grillo, and I was actually kind of bummed out whenever he joined Captain America as a villain, because I totally could have seen him working as the Punisher in the MCU. However, I will say this was before what's his name, John Bernthal got the role, and
season 2 of the Punisher is far and away better than season 1.
Mm.
However, I will say I think a lot of that is thanks to what's that guy that comes out on the collection series, the collector series?
Mm. Not sure.
He plays kind of a villain in Punisher season two. Josh Stewart is really good as the Mennonite. They don't really call him that, but that's kind of the character he's playing. But he's really good as that character. He's as interesting as John Bernthal as the Punisher, which I think is a pretty remarkable feat. Because I really they're just having the two of them in the season. They're kind of like two sides of the same coin, and it's just so good.
Yeah. The
But I agree with you. Frank Grillo would have made a really good Punisher too.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got John Bernthal though. But had he not gotten it, Frank Grillo would have been good. The movie's pretty entertaining. The movie is scary at times, not so much in the pop out of the moment that you're watching it, more in the sense that uh, it kind of just
It
like
gives
the
you a
whole
good sense
concept
of
of it.
dread,
Yeah,
like because
for
you
sure.
like it. Like it's just such a ruthless premise that kind of anything can happen. I really like them. They really doubled down on the classism, which I mean, I it's not something that I cared too much about as a message in the movie. If you do, I mean, I get that people do. I really liked it as a. I thought it works a lot better in terms of writing as a commentary about Twitter, as this horrible free for all where if people actually acted out the words that they write on social media, I thought it worked better as a commentary about how we have begun to use social media. I thought it was way more interesting like that. But they kind of just on the third one they really steered away from that and really dove into the classism,
Well, I mean,
which
you have to acknowledge though that if something like this were to happen, who's going to be able to afford the fortifications? Who's going to be able to afford the ticket out of the country? Who's going to be
yeah,
able to
that's
afford,
I agree that that's a well like okay I'm kind of talking in terms of the third one,
Okay.
but yeah yeah no it makes sense that it would at the very least be touched on because it's true. If that was the situation, then yeah, definitely the indigent populations would be way more uh, at a disadvantage uh, in that kind of situation for sure.
Now we have a Rotten Tomato score. Actually, the critics and the audiences are more or less on the same page here. 57% from the critics, 56 from the audience.
All right, let's check out Purge Anarchy 2014, 6.4.
See, I enjoyed the film. I
I
won't
enjoyed
say
it.
that
I liked it.
it's not up there on the list of films that I will watch more than maybe once or twice. I've
It's
seen
probably
it.
the only Purge movie I'd watch again.
I agree with you on that. I've seen all of them except for the first Purge. I have not seen the first Purge yet. Um,
I haven't either, actually.
um, Election year. That's the candy bar one, though.
I do like that line. I want my candy bar.
Like, why
It's
don't you
just
just
so
let that girl
outrageous.
have a candy bar? Just let her
I
have a
was
candy.
having fun.
You know what's coming. You know
It
what's.
was. It's fun. That movie. It starts out really, really fun, and then gets kind of really, really unfun as it goes on.
All right. Do you have
Um,
any other film you want to add to the list before we wrap up for the night?
okay, wait. All right, let me do. Let me do one. I'll sneak one in there as a kind of a bonus, and then I'll get to my big one. Jingle All the Way. I love that movie. Let me
That
see.
is
Let
a
me see.
must-watch every Christmas movie. Every Christmas, Jingle All the Way is a
I
must
was
on my
so
list.
surprised to find out that people aren't as in love with Jingle All the Way as I am. It's at a 5.6. The line whenever
Wow.
Sinbad is saying, "And I do all this for a wife that slept with everybody at the post office but me."
He's a
That
postal
is
worker, by the way.
classic. And he's a postal worker.
Critical score is 17%. Audience score is 38. So this is a pretty universally loathed film.
I guess
I love
so.
it.
I love this movie.
I was I put the movie on. I try to get my kids into it. They're not super into it.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
I know I need to find new ones. Uh, I put it on and we were decorating the Christmas tree and my girlfriend was watching. It's the first time she's ever seen it before. And like I was doing the thing where like you know whenever you
Oh,
hand
God
your
rest
phone
Phil
over
Hartman.
I know. Whenever you hand your phone over to somebody to show them a funny video and you're like watching to make sure that they have the right reactions, and she wasn't having the reactions, and so I was like, we need to
Oh,
rewind this to like you need to hear this part right here. I'm like staring at her like the husky dog from the memes. It's like, why don't you love this like I do? Yo
that's
soy el
disappointing, man.
hombre
I
de
am sorry to hear that.
turbo.
I mean, Sinbad's name is Myron Larrabee. You know that that's going to be a hilarious movie.
It's
And
a
like
good film.
the midget Santa, the bad Santas, you know, and then that one guy's like, it's the Grinch, scatter! Whenever all the police show up to bust them.
As a commentary on commercialism and people's obsession and perversion of the Christmas season, it's great because the entire thing takes place on Christmas Eve, and he spends the whole day looking for a toy to give to his son,
Yeah,
this toy that he absolutely has to have. Instead of spending time with his family, instead of focusing on what's important, and he even goes so far at one point to try to steal the toy from somebody else and burns down half of the dude's
he
house in the
got
process.
two. He got two.
Um, but my favorite thing in the movie is at the end whenever he sneaks into the Macy's Thanksgiving or Macy's Christmas Day parade, and he's dressed up as Turbo Man because that's what the action figure is that his son wants, and he has this limited edition Turbo Man that he gets to pick one child out of the entire audience to give the doll to, and he picks his son. Well, at the end, he hands the doll to his son, and the boy, out of the kindness of his heart, gives it to Sinbad's character, so that he can give it to the son.
Who goes to jail?
Arnold and Sinbad the entire time. Right? Arnold and Sinbad the entire time are at war with each other throughout the entire film, to try to find the doll.
They're kind of
And
like hardcore frenemies.
he gives the doll to him, and the entire time I'm thinking the only reason he's given that doll to Sinbad right now is because he thinks he has one waiting for him at home right now.
What do I need the doll for? I got the real Turbo Man at home. I'm like, your dad's not keeping that suit. And if that suit exists, the military's swooping in right now to jack it.
Yep. Yeah.
That movie's great. There's
Great
so
movie.
many quotable lines in that movie. And then I think Arnold
Here's to
Schwarzenegger
you,
is great
Dad.
with comedy. Here's to here's to you, Dad. He takes a swig out of it, dressed up
Sitting
as the
drinking-
postman.
Drinking with the reindeer. Everything.
That is a Christmas tradition.
Mhm.
And the commercialism message is not subtle, but I'd say it's still more subtle than something like Krampus, whenever that is
Right.
the movie, basically. Which I guess it shouldn't be that subtle in a movie like Krampus. I don't know. But definitely a must watch. All right, what's your last one?
No, I'm good.
Oh,
man.
wait, no,
You're-
that was bonus. That was bonus. Okay. My ultimate guilty pleasure. And I do get a lot of flack for this. I love the Fast franchise.
the Fast franchise.
I love
All
the
right.
Fast franchise. Now, I will say I think Tokyo Drift it's one of my like that I think that was it was the turning point for the recently it's been getting a lot more love. I think like in some of these other movies that we talked about, recently Tokyo Drift has been getting a lot more love. Initially it was not liked at all.
Oof, these scores, man.
Fast and Furious Tokyo. I know. So it's sitting at a 6.6, which I can accept that. And
Like
it
the
gave us
franchise
one
as
of
a
the
whole?
best characters. Oh, no, Tokyo Drift.
the
I think
last
the movie
few-
peaked in part 5. I think it peaked in Fast 5 or part 6. The movie, the franchise peaked.
The last few
However-
are actually fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. The last several have been fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, maybe it just needed to find its audience because with every movie, it gets more and more ridiculous and outrageous, and I love it. However, I have heard that Fast 9, in a sense, does jump the shark. I haven't seen it, though.
Do they actually jump a literal shark? Because that would be on brand.
No, they go to the moon or they go into space or
Do
something.
they really? They Call of Duty
Yeah.
it?
They Call of Duty it. They go to space.
That's funny.
They go to space.
So, my only Fast and the Furious films that I've seen are the first two. My cousins were obsessed with the films whenever we were kids, and I
2
think
is
I watched.
terrible.
I think I watched the first one like 20 times while I was over there at their house,
Really?
and then we saw the second one in theaters. Um, it was like it was okay, but I mean, I don't think I need to see it that many times. It's probably up there as like one of the films, aside from the ones that the kids get me to watch, probably one of the ones that I've seen more than any other. Um, I have not seen any of the new ones. I need to. I want to. There's an actual want to go watch the Fast movies. It's just one of those that at this point it seems kind of daunting with how many of them that there are, and
They're
I
worth
don't want to.
watching.
Huh?
They're worth watching. They're
And
fun.
I don't want to just start with like number 6 or whatever. I want to watch them all. I want to rewatch number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and whenever
Yeah,
it comes
chug
out.
your way through it. It's great. It's more fun than watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Is it really? I still
Yes.
haven't watched it yet.
How far? Oh, you haven't watched it at all?
Nope. And I haven't started
Oh.
Loki either.
Man, I'm getting kind of like I think they started off really strong with WandaVision. I genuinely liked it
I
up
feel like
until
they're
about the last
like they're
episode.
degrading
Kind
a
of
little
copped
bit.
out, huh?
I feel like they're kind of degrading a little bit.
The writing, it's not like whenever you get used to the star-studded crew of the films, the cinematographers are great. The directors and the writers are just kind of feel very television, and that's really disappointing.
That's a bummer because that's one of the things that I liked about WandaVision is that unlike Agents of Shield, which feels very television-y, WandaVision feels, you know,
I
filmish.
agree on the parts with the superstars. Like the one of the things I love the show. One of the things I didn't like about it is that it's jarring going from Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen to these made for TV kind of characters and actors who
Talking
are
about like
not on the
Randall
level.
Park and stuff like that.
It's very jarring, going from those having that dichotomy set up in a TV show, because you're going back and forth, and it's just like you go to AAA plus quality to Modern Family quality, and it's
All right. Don't get worked up now.
I won't get worked up. Not that Modern Family's a bad show. It's just
I'll say
jarring going to those two
Not a
different
good show.
extremes. What'd you
it.
say?
I'll say it. It's not a good show.
The first like 2 seasons were really good,
Mhm.
I think.
I agree. All right. So, do you have any other final thoughts on the Fast franchise?
No, it's worth watching though.
I'll check it out.
I think it should have
I
ended.
promise I'll check it out.
You need to check it out. You need to check through it. It's definitely worth watching. I'd say it's worth watching over these new Marvel shows. After
add-
WandaVision.
I will add one more, but only because it's a callback to a previous episode that we've done. I've rewatched Mortal Kombat, and I find it enjoyable to watch. And it sits around the 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not going to go too much into detail about it. It's plotline wise, I know it's not a good film.
The new one?
Yeah, the new one. But
You know,
it's
there's something I
entertaining.
can't put my finger on. I just feel like the movie has heart, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
The movie feels loved. and
I think
like
that I think that it laid the groundwork for a good sequel, and so I'm remaining hopeful. Especially if they actually get like Ryan Reynolds to be Johnny Cage, that'd be cool. Don't argue with me on this. We don't have the time.
It's the same thing as WandaVision. He's gonna chew up every scene.
yeah,
They already
you're
had
right.
that problem with Kano.
But he's a movie star though. But he is a movie star. Johnny Cage is a movie star, so it would make sense for that in that capacity. We'll see.
Who did they base Johnny Cage off of?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
In fact, he was supposed to be in the game. He was supposed to be. I think he was supposed to be the character. I think he was supposed to be Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I think Chris Pratt would actually be a good Johnny Cage too.
He'd have to get buff again. I think he's getting
Actually, I was gonna say he'd probably have to get skinnier.
Do you think so? Is he still super buff?
I
thought
think
was getting a
he
little
got
chubby.
buff again for the Tomorrow War. I don't know. That dude can gain and lose weight like really well.
Almost as well as Christian Bale.
Almost as well.
All right. Well, this has been an episode of Andy and Jeremiah. We got to get a better title for the show.
Why? You know, I noticed that a bunch of YouTubers stopped calling their channels like names and literally just use their own name. So I think it's fine. It's fine.
All
Unless
right.
you want to call it something else.
I really like that title, Fall of Western Civilization, which we never did anything with.
It's just too long. We could just call it The Fall.
I think it captures us pretty well.
Hey, can you customize that soundboard?
I'm gonna see if I can add stuff to it.
Man, look at that cinematic movement.
For later.
Wait,
It's
wait,
very
wait,
good.
wait. There we go.
All right, say goodnight, Andy.